What's good, everybody, and welcome back to another video on the channel. And in today's video, I am going to be doing something different. I'm going to be doing like a bracket for all 8 different Spider-Man movies where Spider-Man was the lead character. So movies like Infinity War won't count, and then also movies like Venom also won't count because those aren't technically Spider-Man movies. And yeah, let's just jump right into this. So if you guys like these videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel as it does help out a lot. And yeah, let's just jump right into this. Okay, so how this bracket works is I got all 8 Spider-Man movies, and then I put them in like a random bracket generator so that each matchup will be like unique, and it won't be like one matchup has an obvious winner because it's like seeded. No, so it's gonna be random matchups, which should make it a little bit more interesting. So yeah, the first matchup is gonna be Spider-Man 2 against I forgot to say scoring. 1 is my personal preference. 1 is the Rotten Tomatoes score, and 1 is the audience score of Rotten Tomatoes, which will add up to 3 points, and then whichever one gets the most points wins. So for the audience score, Spider-Man 2 has an 82%, and Spider-Man 3 has a 51% audience score. So obviously that point's gonna go to Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 has a 93% Rotten Tomatoes score, and Spider-Man 3 has a 63% Rotten Tomatoes score. So obviously that point is also gonna go to Spider-Man 2. And then as for me, I like Spider-Man 2 more. I think that's just like Spider-Man 3 is just way too overcrowded with the villains and doesn't really have a clear plot forward, while Spider-Man 2 is one of the best Spider-Man movies ever, and well, in my opinion, the best Raimi Spider-Man movie that blends all the plot lines and character developments together very nicely. So I'm gonna go with Spider-Man 2 there. Okay, next matchup is Far From Home versus The Amazing Spider-Man 1. So for Rotten Tomatoes score, Far From Home wins that with a 91% to a 73%. And then for audience score, Far From Home has a 95% to a 77% from The Amazing Spider-Man 1. Now, my personal preference, I've actually flipped on this one, and I actually think that The Amazing Spider-Man 1 is a better film, purely because I feel like the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's better. Also, I think that Andrew Garfield is probably the best Spider-Man out of all of them. I think that the villain was also pretty good, and the plot, like, both of them have plot holes, like why would Tony give Peter the glasses, and then also like what's the Lizard's plan in Amazing Spider-Man 1, like it doesn't make any sense. But for me, I feel like that the Amazing Spider-Man 1 has the superior Spider-Man, better Spider-Man moments, and it actually shows his origin story and deepens the mythology, and also has better the romantic subplot was better. So I feel like the Amazing Spider-Man 1 is better, but the audience and the Rotten Tomato critics say that Far From Home is better, so we gotta go with that. Now, Homecoming versus the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I can already tell you, yeah, Homecoming has a better Rotten Tomato score and audience score, and I like Homecoming better, so yeah, it is going to move on. I don't know, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is like up there with Spider-Man 3 for the worst Spider-Man movie ever. And Homecoming was an absolute masterpiece, which it was just a teen drama that, also served to be an MCU movie, which I felt like those two aspects of it blended very well, with it leaning more towards the teen, like high school drama, like and I feel like that Homecoming was just a lighthearted movie that also had some serious moments, and also it had a great villain, while The Amazing Spider-Man had 3 bad villains. I don't even know how that's possible, that you shoot 3 times and you airball all of them. So yeah, Homecoming's going to move on. Now, Into the Spider-Verse versus Spider-Man 1. So Into the Spider-Verse has a 97% versus Spider-Man 1's 90%, so Into the Spider-Verse is going to take that one. And then for some reason, Spider-Man 1 has I think it was like a 67% audience score or something like that. So yeah, Into the Spider-Verse is going to take that one as well. And for my personal pick, I like Into the Spider-Verse better. I think that it is probably the best Spider-Man movie. It just, like, it felt like a comic book movie is what it really is. It just felt like a comic book movie, which was really good. and a fresh take on the Spider-Man universe. Also, you brought together all these distinct and interesting Spider-Man. So obviously, you gotta love it. I feel like the villains were very great, and they were able to balance all of the different villains in their movies while telling and also bringing in a lot of Spider-Man, but still telling a personal story about Miles Morales. So yeah, I think that Into the Spider-Verse is great. Okay, Spider-Man 2 versus Far From Home. Spider-Man 2 barely edges out the Rotten Tomatoes score with a 93% versus a 91%. But Spider-Man Far From Home has a 95% audience score to an 82% for Spider-Man 2. So it comes up to my decision the first time that this happened. Usually the critics and the audience are on the same side, but this time, yeah, they were split, man. Apparently the audience just doesn't like Spider-Man 2. But for me, considering that I don't even think that Far From Home should have made it past the first round, I'm going to go with Spider-Man 2. I think that it is just, it's just a really, really, really good film where it blends, Spider-Man as Peter Parker and also Spider-Man as the superhero, where, that subplot about Spider-Man losing his powers was pretty good. Actually, not even pretty good. It was really good. And I feel like that tells a much more personal story about Peter Parker, more so than all of these other films. Even though Far From Home tried to do it, I feel like it didn't really hit the mark as well as Spider-Man 2. And then obviously, Doc Ock is an amazing villain who had a great redemptive arc throughout the film. So I'm going to go with Spider-Man 2 here and Into the Spider-Verse. So Into the Spider-Verse has a 97% Rotten Tomatoes score versus a 92% from Homecoming. Into the Spider-Verse had a 93% audience score versus Homecoming's 87%. And as I said earlier, I think that Into the Spider-Verse is the best film of the franchise. And I think that Homecoming's a really good movie. And I'm really sad they couldn't make it into the top 2. But Into the Spider-Verse is just such a great film. As I touched on earlier, the comic book aspect of it, it really just feels like a comic book movie, which is what I think separates it from everything else, but also makes it unique and also special. And then this film is just amazing. So our final battle is between Spider-Man 2 and Into the Spider-Verse. Now, Into the Spider-Verse has a 97% Rotten Tomatoes score versus Spider-Man 2's 93%, so the point goes there to Into the Spider-Verse. And Into the Spider-Verse has a 95% from audience versus an 82% from Spider-Man 2. And as for me, my personal pick is Into the Spider-Verse, so that is a clean sweep in the finals for Into the Spider-Verse as our champions. Now, if we were going to go on third place, I think Homecoming has a better Rotten Tomatoes score, but worse, audience score. And personally, I like Homecoming better, so Homecoming would come in third place for us. And then fifth place would probably be Amazing Spider-Man 1, followed by Spider-Man 1, followed by Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3. But yeah, this film, Into the Spider-Verse, is just absolutely amazing. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that because you've already experienced it yourself. So yeah, it comes at number 1, and I feel like no one was doubting it. So number 1, Into the Spider-Verse. Number 2, Spider-Man 2. Number 3, Homecoming. Number 4, Far From Home. Number 5, Amazing Spider-Man 1. Number 6, Spider-Man 1. Number 7, Amazing Spider-Man 2. And number 8, Spider-Man 3. So yeah, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy, and if you guys did, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Too easy!